Hello and welcome to Frank's School. I'm about to get unstuck. I think I won't finish today, the fifth day, the fifth video of the 90th day, but the end's in sight now. I think I'm going to erase stuff as I talk about it today because it'd be a little easier for me, I think. So the end's in sight, I think, for this section of my course. Yesterday I forgot, as I had the list of craftsmen down, I forgot to mention the nurse, who was also the cook and the veterinarian. So I'll get that out of the way. Now, let's see. Maybe I mentioned this right now too. I remembered a play called The Admirable Crichton. I had read it when I was in 9th grade, and I never forgot it. You know, these feelings that I have about the trades and decentralization and simplicity and stuff, I think I've had them all my life. Anyway, in The Admirable Crichton, written by the same guy who wrote Peter Pan, I think Barry, I believe is his name, the butler on a desert island, marooned on a desert island, it's in that series, and the butler is Crichton, and there his knowledge becomes so valuable that he becomes sort of the leader, whereas before he was just a butler. Maybe sometime I'll reread that play, or it was made into a movie. I just thought I should add it. This is IC, Admiral Crichton. And in the process, I looked up James Crichton. There was an allusion to a man who was an incredible polymath, apparently, or what we might call a Renaissance man. The stories about him, you can look in Wikipedia. It's pretty amazing. All right, what next? Well, foreign trade could be a road. I had said that here's that village around the center, but you've got to get a gate, and if it's on a river, well, there becomes the port. I almost immediately began to think about downtown Lisbon when I was doing that kind of thinking. Well, that could also be a road, and there, I should do this darker, even though. And in England and apparently in Germany too, there's quite a pattern of villages sort of being like that on a road, where the road goes through it. Then you've got the issue of gating. You know, it's a whole other thing I don't want to get into right now. But it would be real interesting, especially in Germany, I think. So the foreign trade could be simply the road that goes by. That's the case here. You know, my farm is positioned just off a road. All right, that. Now let's go over to here. If you add slope, and I don't have wind here, but wind is a little, well, no, wind isn't hard to explain. Wind affects a lot where you would place a village and how you would orient your houses, the roofs and such. But if you add slope, so that this village is not on a flat spot like a piece of paper, but it's on a mountainside or a hillside, that changes a lot. Because now you've got water that is falling. A spring is now going to come out if you have a spring, but in any case, if you have water enough to live on, that water is going to be falling. And with falling water, you've got the potential of power, at least for part of the year. That's the case here. From about March until June, there's a lot of power that goes through here, water power. And of course the wind is also wind power. And at some point, maybe I might as well say it right now, at some point I should point this out, that 1 tablespoon of gasoline, a tablespoon of gasoline, I tried to figure this out. I took some time to try to get accurate here. That equals about 1 man-hour. A gallon of gasoline is somewhere between 250 and 600 man-hours, a gallon of gasoline. And when you put that, you begin to apply that. You say, okay, you could have 1 tablespoon of gasoline or 1 man-hour. A tablespoon. So a day would be a half cup. A half cup of gasoline would be like a day's worth of labor. I'm not ready to go into that too much, but I had back there said that decentralism meets, or village planning meets Wedge's paradigm. That would be. I really felt like I needed to throw that in at some point. So there's there. All right, now if you've got falling water, it's almost automatic to begin to dam that water up and to have it. I'm talking just a little bit of water, and if you divert it, it begins to spread out. Well, by doing that, you end up developing a contour line. And if you go along, and I've got a whole, when I get into water, I'll get into this, and I already have a whole lot of stuff about this online. If you take your contour line out, water tends to become level. It's automatically level unless it's allowed to drop. Well, if you take that contour line out and then open a hatch, is what it's called, there it drops. And it's going to drop on a fall line. It's going to try to go straight down if it can. That's a fall line. Well, with those two things, contour and fall line, you can develop a primitive man, almost, I'd say, almost before language is there, it could get an understanding, or I could say got an understanding of level and plumb and even square. Because the difference between level and plumb is square. Plumb because stuff falls. Well, if you add to level, plumb, and square straight, which the light, the sight line is straight, or if you must, a fiber of some kind pulled tight is straight. Now you've got those four things. And actually, that's the essence of building right there. And I even got thinking about the pyramids. Everyone talks about how could they get the pyramids so accurate? How is that possible? Well, if they flooded the area, the footprint of the pyramid, to just like a quarter of an inch high of water, they would have perfectly level. That would not be hard to do. Now to get square maybe takes, I mean the square part is a little bit, I don't want to get into that right now, but I don't think it has to be such a great mystery that they were so accurate, because these three things were available. Now the Pythagorean theorem in square is a very, so maybe you would have to know about 3, 4, 5, and I don't know if the Egyptians knew about that. They probably did, but Pythagoras is famous for that. You know what I'm talking about. 9, 16, and 25. Well, anyway, I've taught about that elsewhere. And I don't know if I wrote it here. I don't think I did write it. Oh, here it is. I have every reason to believe that terracing predates civilization. Civilization, in the first year of this course, I discussed the hydraulic theory of the development of civilization, the hydraulic theory, and quite a few people have looked at that video. Well, that's civilization, but knowledge of water and using it as terraces does not depend on civilization. And I even took that thought so far as to think of, could you find the origins of this by looking at its frequency? A little bit like you do species. You want to know where the potato came from. Well, where in the world are there the most number of wild potatoes? And Peru. And so they figure that out. That's how they can figure where something came out of. But it might have simply also just come up everywhere. I think of New Guinea and the images that I've once seen of the intricate terracing in New Guinea. All right, let's see, one thing after another, I'm getting rid of these. All right, also, if you add slope, now you've got solar exposure. Which slope is toward the south? My farm here, my wife's and my farm, has a southern exposure, which is very desirable. If you go over the mountain, it's a northern exposure, not as desirable. And related to this, I think of Auserberg, or in French Auserberg in Switzerland. It might be a sample village for me, and it's filmed. I mean, if you go into my videos, I think I believe there's a playlist that has that there. You can actually see what it looks like to walk around Auserberg. Well, it has a southern exposure, and in the Rhone Valley, in southern or sort of southern Switzerland, that valley goes east-west. And it's, I think, the deepest valley and the longest valley in Europe. And so the north wall has a southern exposure. And the villages that are along there, Auserberg is one, I can't think of the other name, but it's just one. There's a bunch of villages there. I think they're real interesting to study. For one thing, well, I'll save it for later, but this word right here, that's part of my email address. That was their solution to bringing water to those villages. And at first I thought, why didn't they just build a village down there in the valley? Well, it was swampy, and it was hot, it was buggy, and it was dangerous. Well, you know, I'm giving you subjects that if it catches your interest, you certainly could research them, and most of them in my school here. And you know, I'm about to go to Portugal in 3 months. Thomas and Shirley and I will be traveling in Portugal. And there are villages in Portugal. There, I think the villages tend to be in the valley, but it's a different situation in Portugal. We'll see. But anyway, a southern exposure becomes very important. Why I have this here is, you know, with a guild, I started off saying, just talking about the guilds. And different craftsmen have told me how important it is for craftsmen to be able to get together and share their ideas. Now it happens in forums, online. You know, to the extent that I'm a craftsman, that's important to me too, I guess. Maybe I could connect it to this. But a moot, once every 2 years, say, you know, maybe you'd have to look that up. That was a form of government in like Scandinavia, and at the moot, I could see that the craftsmen could get together at the moot, and maybe that would be enough. Oh, so much of this may seem like such strange ideas to you. All right, sample villages. Fallon and Picon are not villages, but again, they're here. There's a playlist about them. Shirley and I hiked up the side of a mountain. And, you know, their water is not a lot of water. Water is coming down a mountainside. And there you can see what a difference that made in that area and how it was developed. So there were something like 56 or 57 little water-powered mills on the side of a mountain. And it was worth it for people to either carry or use a donkey or something to take their grain up there to get it milled. Auserberg I already talked about. Metzio is a pot. You know, we might or might not go to Metzio in Portugal, but flying home 2 years ago, I had hours to speak with a man who, in his youth, was raised in Metzio, and he described that village. It's near Castro Daire. And, you know, since I already know so much about that and have put it online, we very well may go there. Nuremberg had got me started with the trades. It's a city, it's not a village, but it probably once was a village. And that might be an interesting one to look at. Paris is a huge city, but the Ile de la Cité, the island in the middle of the Seine, that's where it all started. And I don't know. I just have them up there. All right, hey, look at this. I'm working my way through. Now, this stuff. I found out within the last week that there is a magazine called Craftsmanship. Todd, well, I want to say Oppenheimer because that's the way it's pronounced here, but I suppose he says Oppenheimer. What a coincidence that that would be his name, because that's one of the names of the village that was here and was forgotten. At the point that it had a post office, it was called Oppenheimer here. Anyway, Craftsmanship, a brand new magazine. Not sure what to make of it yet, but I found out about that magazine because of a blog which is part of permaculture, and there's a Portuguese blog. I could give you the woman's name, but I'm reluctant to do that because I'm just not so sure she wants that kind of attention. But currently, I'm engaged in a discussion with a woman in Portugal who has a blog about permaculture. And on her blog, I found out about Craftsmanship, the magazine, and also in the discussion, you know, I'm not so sure how the discussion's going actually, but I had said at one point that I think it's going to take, well, I've said many times, I think it's going to take poets and songwriters and maybe filmmakers to convince people, to get their attention. And I haven't even put it on there yet, but I thought, you know, I thought in a way about, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. A singer, sweet high tenor. Denver? John Denver? That's weird. I can't remember his name. He was killed in a plane crash. Anyway, I think in one of his songs, John Denver, I think that's his name. He sang about how the children will lead us. Well, you know, I got thinking about a potential song, a series of songs or song could be "Daddy, Let's," and the children a child could be singing, "Daddy, let's go for a walk." "Daddy, let's plant a garden." "Daddy, let's sell the car." You know, I could just, "Daddy, let's visit a farm." I don't know. All right, and then finally, Prophets of Doom. Last night, this very night, it was about 4 hours ago, I woke up and I was watching TV, and there's a show on there called Prophets of Doom. My wife had seen it, I think, before, and she mentioned it to me. She said, "Hey, they're talking a lot like you on there." Well, it was interesting to me. I'll find out more about it. You know, I get pretty sick of these doomsday preppers. I think that's a whole show too, that they're going to take care of themselves. Let the world go to hell, but they're going to take care of themselves, or protect themselves. My neighbor, Andy, once said that the best way to protect yourself would be to be sure you get along with your neighbor. Make friends with your neighbors. Anyway, in this Prophets of Doom, I'll need to look at it more. As they talked about all these things that are going to happen and how bad everything is, and incidentally, I'm not really a prophet of doom. I was always sort of more on the building side than the destroying side. But finally, when they come around, so what can be done? The word began to show up again and again in there. I think it was relocalization, or relocalizing, or something like that. I mean, that's kind of a new word. I'd never heard it before last night. Make things local again. They began to keep saying that. And then finally, at one point, the word decentralization came up. And it was toward the end, you know, sort of looking for solutions. I believe that's what my wife ended up noticing. She thought maybe she should tell me that they had used that word. All right. And on that site, that website that I'd said, I had just seen the word reagrarianism, I think. Reagrarianism. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. Never seen the word before. But get people back onto the land, I assume is what that means. This is stuff, it's so current. I need to research more of it. But I am very anxious to finish this section and then to go on with the second semester. And I finally should probably draw this. There's the water. There's the craftsman. It ends up opening up. It has to make room for a port, so now it's not really a circle. And then if it's on a slope, it's a lot easier to walk along a slope than up and down a slope. So it begins to sort of spread out like that. And I did that lightly because I'm sort of ashamed of it. All right, one more time. I think tomorrow I'll have some last words to say about this, and this part will be over. Thank you so much if you have been following me. Bye for now.